week.
And what you can see are live visuals coming in from New Delhi. Justin Trudeau has just arrived, Prime Minister of Canada, Justin Trudeau. As you can see, he's accompanied by his wife and son, and he's being greeted by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who's also greeting the other two children of Prime Minister Trudeau. This is the ceremonial reception for the Canadian Prime Minister, who's on an 8-day-long visit to India. What you can see are live visuals being streamed from the Rashtrapati Bhawan in Delhi. The much-awaited meeting between Narendra Modi and Justin Trudeau is finally taking place at the Rashtrapati Bhawan. As you can see, the Canadian Prime Minister is accompanied by his wife Sophie and his 3 kids, and he's being warmly welcomed by the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. These are live visuals coming in from the Rashtrapati Bhavan, where Justin Trudeau will shortly receive the Guard of Honour. These are live visuals coming in from the Rashtrapati Bhavan, and as you can see, the Guard of Honour is currently underway. And as you can see, the ceremonial Guard of Honour has just taken place to welcome the Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, who was shortly, just some time ago, very warmly welcomed by the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. What you can see are live visuals being streamed from the Rashtrapati Bhavan, where Justin Trudeau is receiving his ceremonious Guard of Honour. As we all know, the Canadian Prime Minister is on an 8-day-long visit to India. This is day 6 of his week-long visit to the country. The Canadian Prime Minister was earlier seen visiting the cities of Agra, Amritsar and Ahmedabad earlier during the week as a part of his week-long visit to India. meeting between Justin Trudeau and Prime Minister Narendra Modi has been much awaited, not just by India and Canada, but also by the respective media agencies from India and Canada. Much is being talked about Justin Trudeau's visit to India. Ceremonial reception for the Canadian Prime Minister was long due, as there were reports about the Canadian Prime Minister not being able to see Prime Minister Modi right at the beginning of his visit were surfacing. Hence, and now to add more perspective to Justin Trudeau's visit to India and his much-awaited meeting with Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, I am joined in by Ramesh Ramachandran, our senior correspondent. Ramesh, the much-awaited meeting has finally taken place. Let's talk about the core areas of focus we can expect during this meet.
Well, today is the 7th and last day of his official leg of his week-long tour to India. Tomorrow he'll address a town hall meeting of Indian students and activists before he wraps up his visit to India. But today is the operative day of his visit. We have seen the ceremony happen at Rashtrapati Bhawan, the presidential palace here in New Delhi, followed by his visit to the Rajghat, where he'll pay homage to Mahatma Gandhi. And he'll have bilateral talks for the first time during this visit with Prime Minister Modi at Hyderabad House around noon, followed by a meeting with President Ramnath Kovind. Now, that said, the agenda is very vast. All issues of bilateral, regional and global issues of interest and concern alike for both Canada and India will be on the agenda. From India's side, India will be looking to hear from Trudeau about his stand, his position on Sikh radicalism, especially in light of recent controversies surrounding some of his ministers and delegates attending and participating in his engagements in India, including most recently that of Atwal, who was invited to the High Commissioner's residence yesterday, but because of the controversy generated, the invitation was cancelled at the last minute. So India will be looking to hear from Trudeau about his position on Sikh radicalism and the Khalistan, the so-called Khalistan separatist movement happening in Canada. From Canada's side, they will be looking to hear from India on trade and investments, on innovation, science and technology, and
Ramesh,
people-to-people
I'm going to have to request you to pause because Justin Trudeau has just addressed the media. Okay, so that was probably a short note on being welcomed. And let me quickly go back to Ramesh. Yes, Ramesh, we were talking about, the core issues that might be addressed, Khalistan, the issue of Khalistan being one of them. Let's go back to that. Amid reports of Jaspal Atwal, a Khalistan terrorist, being part of the attendees' official events in India, and the PMO, the Canada PMO, of course, has cleared the air yet, but will the Khalistan issue surface again, considering the Punjab CM had already discussed it?
Well, Akanksha, if the past is any indicator, then Trudeau can be expected to reiterate what he has been saying all along, that Canada and his government in particular stands for a united India. But Trudeau, will he go beyond that and call out Sikh radicalism? That is the question which is being examined by India. He has so far been reluctant to call out Sikh radicalism, Sikh extremism. Remember, the Indian-Canadian community is very strong in Canada. They are 1.4 million in population, and there are 19 lawmakers of Indian origin in the Canadian Parliament today, of which 15 of them are Sikhs, and 4 of them find a berth in Trudeau's cabinet. Now, we've seen many members of Trudeau's cabinet who have had allegedly links with Sikh radicalism, including the Defence Minister Harjit Singh Sajjan and Infrastructure Minister Amarjeet Sohi. But that said, because they are part of the official delegation, India has not raised their issue, at least on this visit. But India says they have had links with Sikh radical groups, and they are sympathizers of the so-called Khalistan movement, which seeks to carve out a separate state of Khalistan, a Sikh nation out of India. Now, the recent controversy generated by Atwal's participation in the delegation meetings is the latest in a series of controversies that have dogged Trudeau's ongoing visit to India. So when the two principals meet here in New Delhi later this afternoon, Akanksha, both sides can be expected to compare, exchange notes on bilateral ties, trade, investments, people-to-people ties, science and technology, education. Remember, Canada is one of the destinations of Indian students going for foreign education abroad. So all these issues will be on the table when the two principals, Trudeau and Modi, meet here in New Delhi later this afternoon.
Right. Ramesh, don't you think that, the international media, which is already buzzing with his visit, with Trudeau's visit to India, a lot of international media has already termed it as a total disaster. Don't you think that's a premature conclusion to draw?
Indeed, many would have already described this visit as a complete PR disaster. And the reasons are not far to seek because Trudeau could have easily avoided the controversies by being a bit more forthcoming, a bit more accommodating of India's concerns about Sikh radicalism. Remember, some of the Canadian media have already described it as a snub by India. That may not be true or may not be accurate, but the fact remains that Prime Minister Modi has been in touch with Trudeau on at least 4 occasions in the last couple of years, including on the margins of several multilateral summits. Remember, Prime Minister Modi traveled to Canada in 2015. At that time, the Prime Minister of Canada was a conservative politician named Stephen Harper. And since then, we've seen India and Canada ties evolve, including in the area of civil nuclear energy cooperation. Remember, after India became a member of the nuclear Canada, one of the first few countries to begin exporting uranium to India for meeting our nuclear energy requirements. So it is not as if India-Canada ties are all, hunky-dory. The fact remains that India is looking forward to have more collaborative ties, ventures with Canada in the days ahead, especially in the area of science and technology, research and development, and innovation.
Right, Ramesh, thank you so much for bringing us that update and adding perspective to Justin Trudeau's India visit. Let's hope that not much has been lost and that India and Canada finally managed to strengthen their ties with Justin Trudeau finally visiting India. And that's our senior correspondent Ramesh Ramachandran reporting on this. We'll continue to track Trudeau's India visit.